Hi everyone, before I begin to the actual video, I just wanted to mention here that I mentioned like some photos you should download that I liked. For that, I will just have a link in the description of a tweet, or maybe it'll change in the future, where you can download the photos I mentioned. Thank you, enjoy! Also, a huge disclaimer. When I start talking about the aspects, which is like maybe 25 minutes in, I know that might be a bit too complicated for everyone, but I just wanted to show you how like the process goes when you get to know astrology more, like how many things you can look into. That doesn't mean you need to get anything I say, okay? And you don't need to like get it the way I do, all right? Like it could be overwhelming, but I will summarize some points per writing in the description, like of the things that you should that I said that are important. And all those things are usually before those 25 minutes. And if I made a good summary at the end after the aspect thing, I'll put it in the description. So if you feel like you might be overwhelmed with what I say about the aspects, you can skip it. But I think if you want to like see how you can read like all of the different like elements that I mentioned like into one, like I mentioned a bit about the house and then like the aspect and the sign together, you can see how that would work and merge together, so you can see like how cool astrology is. So yeah, enjoy! Hi everyone, welcome to this video. It's going to be a very simple looking video, but I'm going to be going over like how to read a chart in astrology. I'm making this video, because when I like start talking with people, it's like so hard to not talk about astrology. It always comes up, and then I always want to like make sure everyone gets it, but like, explaining everything to every single person that ever comes into my life is a lot. So welcome if you're seeing this. I might have sent this to you. Yeah. I'm gonna be telling you what you can look at when you're looking at an astrology chart, and I hope this helps you look into your own chart and things like that, and like empower yourself. It's just very fun. It's so fun sometimes. It's like a million times better than a personality test, because there's so many details that are just so specific to you, that you can't really just put into like a little box like just with sun signs. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, I'm just gonna be intuitively talking about different points. Like, I did not write anything. So let's get started. I got Nietzsche's chart. I was gonna find Hatsune Miku's because I saved like my guest time for her, but like Nietzsche I found quicker, so I'm gonna use Nietzsche's chart. But I don't know if I'll be describing like his characteristics a lot, but I'm just gonna use it for you to get to know the basics just enough, at least, so that you can do your own research and know how to read the symbols, even if you don't even know exactly what they mean. Alright, so this will be divided into a few sections. I will be talking about what the signs are, what the houses are, planets, and aspects. I think that's what I'm gonna be doing. So let's get started. Firstly, let's talk about the symbols in this blue like the blue area. You see like not the outer one that is like yellow with like you guys might know these sign symbols, like if you know your sun sign you might be familiar with it. We're talking about the one inside, the blue one with this moon symbol and the other symbols. These symbols here represent planets and also asteroids, but you don't need to look into asteroids yet because that's a bit I mean, when you first get into it, you can focus on the planets. So the planets are the moon and the sun, by the way. The sun is this one in Libra, the yellow sign inside. This is the sun, and the moon obviously is this one, and this it's in Sagittarius. All right, so in astrology, the sun and the moon are considered as planets. I just wanted to make sure it was recording. All right. But like also Pluto, it might not officially in astronomy be considered a planet anymore, but in astrology it's a planet. And I still think of it as a planet. Who cares? I don't know. But all right. The main signs that you should look into is like the moon, the sun, and these I'll go from left to right about this slice in the ninth slice if you see it. It's Mercury, Mars, and Venus. Chiron is also an asteroid, is the key looking symbol with a K. That's also an asteroid. But yeah, I'll tell you here. Oh, I'm sorry, it's in German. Oh my goodness, that's awful. Let me look for another chart. Okay. It's still in German. This is Hatsune Miku's chart. Man. Damn. Okay. You guys will maybe learn a bit of German. Sorry, I'm a bit lazy. Sonne is sun, Mond is moon, Merkur is Mercury, Venus, it's said Venus in German. Learning some German with me is Venus, Mars is also Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. The outer planets, which is from, you could say from Jupiter, is like the same name anyways. Only Sun, Moon, and Mercury is a different name, and also the signs are called something different. All right, a bit too much chit chat, but basically what the planets represent is what energy is being played out. I know this is a bit vague, but let me explain. For example, with the moon sign, when you look at someone's moon placement, it talks about how they react, how they take things in, like how they feel comfortable or what makes them uncomfortable. That is like the archetype of the moon, the themes of the moon that will be expressed. And different planets have different themes. And so you can look up what different planets represent. I'll just briefly go through like my understanding of the planets. The sun, I'll show here. The sun represents like your expression, like how you radiate out to others or how you act upon things, how you kind of navigate yourself in the world, those kind of things. Mercury is here at like with the number 20. The numbers are degrees, but you guys do not need to look into degrees yet. That's too complicated. I didn't look into degrees until a long time. But Mercury, which is this sign, represents communication, how you think, how you analyze, how you process information, how you communicate, things like that. That's Mercury. And then Venus, which is like this feminine symbol, female symbol, whatever, represents like beauty, how you feel pleasure, your value, your self-esteem. That's what Venus represents. And Mars represents your action, your passion, your impulses, your drive, your like what you would say the more action-based themes. Like Mars is also associated with war, just like your anger or like how you express your anger or just how you express your passion, things like that. And like Okay. So we got the planets out of the way. You can search up planets in astrology in case you forget this, which you probably might. It's good to have a chart. I used to always just find a image on charts like planets in astrology, and then go to Google Images, just download something and keep it on your phone, to remember. So those are what the planets are. Now, let's talk about the signs. The signs are the yellow outside ring. Like here, this is Taurus, this one is Aries underneath, this is Pisces, the blue one, the orange sign is Aquarius, and so on and so forth. So, the signs in astrology represent how something is expressed. How the planets express their themes, okay? So, for example, let's start with Mars, okay? For Hatsune Miku, Mars is in Gemini. So, what this means is that Gemini, the archetypes of Gemini is being just a the thinking sign, very quick-witted, or liking to use your communication. Let me just say what Mars in Gemini means. You would express your passion, be impulsive, your impulses would show out, or your passion would show out through the way you verbalize yourself, and how the words you use. You could just have a very feisty way of talking somehow, or passionate. So let me tie this to Hatsune Miku though. And I'll also say my brother, because he has a Mars in Gemini too. But a lot of, in Vocaloid, let's just say about Hatsune Miku, a lot of the songs that are made with Hatsune Miku, they talk about dark themes. I will get into the house later, which goes into the dark themes, but it utilizes words and verbalization and those kind of things to express a passionate topic, or a topic that hits in your heart, that passionate, fiery energy. Do you understand what I mean? Another example is my brother. He has a Gemini in Mars, and when he's upset, he tends to just use his words a lot. He will scream with his words, but he gets very nitty gritty with the words. If you have a Gemini Mars, if you get angry or something, you might utilize that energy when you are in a fight, or also you could be passionate in an analytical way. You are passionate about little patterns that you realize, but these could change very quickly. Yeah, those are just things that come firstly onto my mind. So you could read that with different planets. The moon in Aries, you can look that characterizes someone who is just by heart someone that's very passionate, someone that is very how do you I forgot the word just now, but very, why did I forget the term? They are confident. They are confident in themselves. They will get they would tend to maybe get angry even for themselves easily. They have their boundaries, or they're they have the leader qualities. That's what makes them comfortable. Just they're comfortable in their own self, and they are not going to stray out of that. That's just who they are. That's something you can read off of being an Aries moon, for example. Hey guys, editing Angela here. Literally, the me who was recording this did not explain the signs well. I'm disappointed, because there's something that is really good to look into, maybe once you've become more accustomed to just reading about the basics about your moon in your sign and stuff like that, which is the archetypes of each sign. So each sign has one element and one modalities. There's for each sign there's one modality and one element, and no element has two of the same no two signs have the same combination of modality and element. Now what is like an element and a modality? So an element is basically, if you guys know the four elements, like fire, earth, air, and water. Those are the elements, and they characterize a sign, like whether they are like, oh my god, I'll put the list. I haven't explained it in so long, so it's good to look into it, like I'm learning again and again. But like, then there's modalities. I mean, with elements, they have certain characteristics, but I'll put the list up. And with modalities, they're like basically like a cycle of like each season. You can imagine, there are 4 seasons, and within each season, there's 3 different stages of the season. And those 3 stages are the so-called modalities. Okay, so for the first stage, it's when like the beginning of the season is there. So let's take spring as an example. So imagine it's like the first quarter of spring. So there's 3 quarters. The first quarter of spring is really like the initiation stage, where like that's when like somehow like all the flowers start to bloom for the first time. It's like kind of that energy of taking action, of pushing out. That's like the first modality, and that's called cardinal. So that's like when a season starts to push out the qualities, like kind of like passionately, they just push out the qualities of what people know for the season as. For like fall, for example, that's when maybe the leaves start turning yellow, like it changes, the leaves start falling, people start thinking about Halloween and stuff like that. So then there's a second modality, that's the fixed modality. That's like when it's a time in the season where things don't change. It's like that's the themes of the season that of, they stay there for like a month, a month. It's like stably like that. For like fall, it's like now it's like it's not transitioning from summer. It's not like clearly summer, it's clearly autumn, like all the trees are red and stuff. And the characteristics is the trees are falling, everyone's just wearing sweaters and stuff. So yeah, that's the fixed phase. And then there's the last phase, which is the mutable phase. So during this phase, this is when it's like kind of starting to transition to the next season. So let me go back to summer, because I think this is easiest for me to say. But this is when like summer, like some people start saying in September that it's not summer anymore, it's already autumn, like, you know what I mean? But then like there's a lot of people that also think it's still summer, like it's still warm, it's still warm outside, but it's like coming to an end. Maybe there's already just a few yellow leaves at the end, but then like there's like at the beginning of the mutable season, it's like still like summer, it's still August, like the end. If you like combine those elements together, then you can see like that's the characteristic of each sign has its own archetype. That is like, through knowing those 2 aspects, you can then kind of get the essence out of a sign and understand things deeper. I mean, I know this is a bit complicated, but I just wanted to mention that, like, don't make the same mistake like me to, like, stereotype and stuff. Like, if you know this, if you eventually, maybe just read your placements. You don't need to be so analytical, but, like, at some point when you are more interested, you can look into this so that when you describe signs, it's more analytical and not, like, stereotype-based, all right? So that's something I'm going to look into, too. Like, all right, so you could go on about this, but I just wanted to show you how you read like planets in a sign. So obviously you can, since you know now, like if you have a chart with all the symbols of the planets like moon, Mars, you can have that list saved as a picture. And if you know the symbols of the signs, like this is Gemini and Aries, you can then look on the web moon in Aries, see what it means, and then like Gemini and Mars, what that meaning is. Or you could always add moon in Aries in astrology, or moon in Gemini in astrology, or moon in Cancer in astrology, and so on, whatever your sign is. I use astro.com, Astrodienst. So if you make a chart on Astrodienst, you will have this list. It can be in English. I don't know why it's saved in German, but yeah. You can then just read up sun. Here it's in German, Virgo is Jungfrau, but yeah, it will say Virgo. The moon, Widder, is in German, so Aries, and then Mercury is in Gemini, or what? Or no, it's not. Whatever. It'll say that, and then you can read it from there and look it up. Okay, so those are just the basics about the signs and the planets. So my second last point, important point that you can look into is houses. You see, so here's numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Those are the houses, and this is the innermost circle. Like, okay, there's like a center circle, but then the one outside that with the lines and stuff. Those are the houses, but you'll see here, for example, Hatsune Miku has Virgo. Oh wait, sorry, the sun in the 11th house. You see how this is 11, and so it's there. And Mercury, this is Mercury, is also in the 11th house. And for example, Venus is in the 10th house, and so is Saturn, which I didn't say what it was before, but this is Saturn. All right, so what does this mean? The areas of life. Oh, I just said it, but the houses in astrology represent like the areas of life in which the energies play out, okay? So, for example, let's use Hatsune Miku again, obviously. Let's talk about having the Mercury in the 11th house, okay? Now, Hatsune Miku has Mercury in the 11th house, which shows that, a lot of people utilize her voice, literally, also the Mercury represents voice, to talk about political themes. Oh, not political, but what is it, like themes about society and the world, and like what else, about like different emotions that people go through, or just like very humanitarian themes. That's what I want to say. And the 11th house represents humanitarian themes, like groups of social people, like on social media. It represents, as I said, society, like just big groups of people, and it's also a political house, because it gets into like how people as a general group of people live, and like that structure and stuff like that. That's what some of the things that 11th house represents. And so that's what you can read out of that. Mercury is in the area of life of the 11th house. So you can then look into, like, search up houses in astrology, and then I'll show it to you, but there's a chart. Okay, here's the chart. This is a chart of the houses and what they mean, okay? Oh, yeah. So you see also a lot of people tend to talk about deeper themes with Hatsune Miku's voice, but also with that comes like hopes and wishes for the future. Like if you address those kind of controversies and stuff. So yeah, you can look into the houses, okay? Look into where the planets are in your house, and you can look up things like, for example, maybe you have sun in the first house, or moon in the second house, whatever it is, and you can read into your placements, okay? But I hope like with this you get an idea that this is how you read a chart. Even if you don't know everything, obviously, honestly, getting to learn about your chart first of all is like also getting to know yourself in a different light again and more structured. Like it was so exciting to learn astrology for me. All right, one last thing before I end this video. I'll just briefly mention aspects, what they are, and then like, you know, I hope this helped. And I'll summarize everything at the end properly again so that you can maybe note those notes down, like so you remember what is. All right, but let me talk about aspects, the last thing. These are these lines, like the red and blue and green lines that you see. These are the aspects between planets. These are the kind of angles different planets make with each other, the dynamic that two planets have with each other. So for example, if you know, do you see the red signs like Leo, where Venus, the sign Venus is? This is Leo up here with Venus. And here is the moon in Aries, okay? These are two planets. And you see there's a blue line that meets each other here, you see? This is an aspect that they're making. And the aspect that they're making is a trine. And so that kind of reflects an element or an energy that kind of coexists with those planets, and then they also set a tone to your chart or to your energy. So in this case, having Venus, as we said, represents like pleasure, beauty, and stuff like that. The moon represents your reactions, what you're comfortable with, your how you take things in and absorb things. They both, I'll just say they are both kind of like more feminine planets, like yin planets or whatever. But the fact that they trine each other, the trine, there's different aspects. You can also look up aspects in astrology, and maybe you can go on a website and see the meanings. But I can go through them briefly after I mention this one aspect. They make a trine, okay? So what it means if they make a trine, they usually are within the same like element sign. You see how they're both red, the signs? Like Leo and Aries are both fire signs, okay? That shows that they're within the same element, and that gives that is like a gift. Like the two planets, like their connection becomes a gift. As in you can access this energy easily. So what this means with Venus and the moon trining each other is that you would have the gift of like reacting and like tending to naturally absorb the world in a beautiful way, or be able to abstract the beautiful essence of the world and take pleasure in things. Like that energy flows harmoniously. So maybe you could also be someone that finds it easy to indulge, or just, the thing is with a gift you don't always have to use it, and it's not like there's a conjunction, which means they would be next to each other. They don't have a conjunction, which means like maybe people who would have a conjunct, like Venus conjunct moon, they would maybe have a tendency of like also kind of spoiling themselves or just overindulging easily, because the energy of like the pleasure and like reacting is like the same thing for them. But like with the trine, it's a gift, so that means you might be more aware that like they are separate energies that you can tap into at the best extent. So having a Venus trine moon, for example, you could like really elevate like the emotions, your emotions, and maybe like anything you express like from the root of it with beauty. Like if you think about Hatsune Miku, like there's something beautiful about the way that people utilize her voice to just get the best, like like it's beautiful to see the way like different emotional themes that exist for people on a regular basis. And like, okay, now we can look into the houses too, because the houses are also trining each other. So the moon in the sixth house talks about being comfortable within a routine and like having structure. And then like the 10th house talks about just broadcasting, how you appear to the world. So basically with this Venus trine moon, it's like with people who use Hatsune Miku's voice bank, they can really broadcast easily the kind of patterns, the beautiful the patterns of like the emotional themes that humans go through, or people go through, and they can express it and broadcast it in a beautiful way. Like that is a gift that has like you can tap into with Hatsune Miku's voice bank, and actually generally Vocaloid. But I think like Vocaloid has become very popular because of Hatsune Miku. Do you get it? Like kind of that vibe. I just wanted to show you how the process can go, I'm just making sure that it's still recording. But so those are aspects. Like not all aspects are like nice like that. I wanted to say something else about, I could analyze Hatsune Miku's chart further. Comment if you're interested in that. But I can do that in another video. But let me tell you some other aspects that exist and the characteristics that those aspects have. There's squares. So squares are like when they're within, all right, you see Gemini in Mars and Mercury in Virgo. They are squaring each other, this red line. Red lines are usually harsh aspects. Things like trine and like there's an aspect called a sextile. They are like harmonious aspects. Like you heard how I described the trine. It's like a harmonious aspect. Only because something's trining each other doesn't mean it's always a beneficial aspect. But, in this case with Venus trine moon, I saw the good in the trine. So, but you see, also only because you have like a harsh aspect doesn't mean it's bad either. There's always a good in something. So with squares, it's usually something that's like kind of, they bump into each other's way. They're kind of like in their way, or like you just need to learn to kind of work with the energies together, if that makes sense. I have a lot of square placements, so like square aspects, so I need to learn to balance out like how, for example, I react, or then also how I express myself, and how I at the same time like take action on things while like making myself feel comfortable. Like it's a balancing act. I mean, with the opposition, which is also here, like this Jupiter like opposite Gemini, it's literally an opposite. Yeah, that's also like a balancing act, or making sure that you don't go too far, or that everyone, like all the planets are happy but they are not like harmonious, at first. It's something that you need to overcome, and that's what a square aspect is. So even just seeing, okay, what kind of trines or what kind of harmonious aspects does someone what do I have, like how many, or if I have one, it could really take the spotlight if you only have one, but then you have a lot of harsh aspects. But then it can also, if you have a lot of harsh aspects, for example, it can describe someone that they usually have to learn a lot, or they usually are the types that think deeply about a lot of things, or they have to like really, they become accountable people. Or if they don't want to do things the hard way, they might have some trine aspects where they can escape or something. Then they could be people that are just very unbalanced, or just they just don't give a good vibe. But I don't know. I don't know if that was a good phrase. I don't even know. But if you have a lot of trines, that means you could have a lot of gifts, or you could have a lot of things that come easy to you. But this could also, some aspects could be like detrimental, in the sense that it could show that you don't want to do much, or you're lazy. I think like square placements, they're more like people that really want to do things, or I don't know, if they do things, they really have to put the effort, You know what I mean? And like trines is more like you already have it in you, you're good, but you could also have a mix of both. Like Hatsune Miku has a mix of both from what I see at first glance. Like there's like I think there seems to be like more harmonious aspects, but there's also some squares, but like it's like an even balance for Hatsune Miku. And like for your portion, it's not like you wouldn't have no squares or no oppositions or no trines at all or something, maybe, but then you can see, oh, this one, if you have one gift and then you have a lot of oppositions, then that one gift though could be really powerful because that really stands out to you, because that in comparison, like you have lots of like harsh aspects where you have to learn lots of things, or you have to make sure you balance two energies, and then you see that gift and then you can really appreciate that. Or maybe just even knowing your chart, you can really maybe tap into your gifts more, because I think if you have a gift, that doesn't mean you have to take action on it, That just means that you have a gift, but you could just leave it in the corner in your room, you know what I mean? There's also another harmonious aspect. I guess I'll just mention it now. It's called a sextile, as I said. Here is a sextile. Leo and Gemini make a sextile. It's different to the trine in the sense that with a sextile, it's like an opportunity. That's what you call it. The difference between a gift and an opportunity is that with a gift, you already have it next to you or in your room, like it's yours already. But like with an opportunity, it's like, as it's called, an opportunity. For example, you get a call, oh yeah, you can get this opportunity, but you're not there yet. You need to like still say, okay, you need to confirm it, yes, okay, and then just go there. But it's like still a harmonious aspect, because all you need to do is just take a few steps, or like just activate it and like take a few steps, and then you also can activate the sextile, like that harmonious aspect. So they have different energies into them that I could describe deeper but I think this video could be a bit long and overwhelming, but I just wanted to introduce you to all the different things you can look into. I'll just summarize what I told you about, okay? What is. So these symbols here, they are the planets in astrology, and they represent what is being expressed, what theme is playing out. Mercury is your communication, your thoughts. Venus is like your beauty, how you value things, your self-esteem, how you take pleasure. That the planets are like an archetype, okay? Then the signs, like here's Virgo, Libra, Scorpio. The signs represent how the planets express these qualities. All right, so how the planets, like how you articulate yourself, how you experience pleasure, in what energy, things like that. I won't get into more detail. There's things that you can look into, but that would be too much, too overwhelming. You just need to know this for now, okay? All right, and then second lastly, there's the houses, which are these slices, like here in the center, the numbers, and inside of the signs, you can see the houses. The houses represent the area of life where a planet plays out, or in which and it just represents the areas of life, okay? Areas of life. So, like for example, if like the area of life of your Mercury is like what you tend to think a lot about, or talk about a lot, or connect a lot about. Or like the moon is like the area of life where you feel comfortable, like what thing like you need to be comfortable. Like sixth house moon people need to have a clean space and a proper routine to be comfortable, for example. Areas of life, okay? Those are the areas of life. And I showed you the chart. Let me show you again though. This is the areas of life house. You can take a screenshot, okay? And then for like the signs, you can look it up. Like you can look up what each sign means. Like I just searched up my own like placements. Oh yeah, you can check here what your signs placements are, like sun in Virgo and stuff like that, and see what it means. Or you can read here 11, and here's the sign Mercury, so then you can look up Mercury in the 11th house, what that means. Okay, you can look up those sorts of things. And if you need help, you can DM me on Twitter, and I can help you, no problem. And lastly, we talked about the aspects. You can look into aspects later, to be honest. I just wanted to mention that exists because that's cool, right? But I also looked into aspects only later, because first, I think like the easiest is to learn about like what placements, like where your sun is in the house and the sign and stuff. But aspects represent like the relationship between two planets, and they can give another layer onto like your personality or your life dynamic and stuff. So that's all for this video. I hope this was helpful. And as I said though, if you need some help to like or if you want to double check that you're looking at things correctly, feel free to DM me and I'll help you, no problem. So have fun.